One of the things that we see that people are most looking for right now is a narrative of possibility, and that there are practical steps that I can take to do that work in my own community. Hi, I'm Rachel Perić. I'm the Executive Director of Welcoming America. Welcoming America is an organization that exists to support communities all over the U.S. and around the world to be places where everyone can thrive and belong as neighbors. The one thing that I want people to remember is that you have the power in your own backyard to create a place where everyone can belong and thrive together. And Welcoming America exists to help you do that. At the deepest level, what I feel from IAJS and what I hope to see in our partnership is a fellow traveler trying to understand, what we can learn from communities around the practice of being welcoming. One of the things that I love about Tomás Jiménez and IAJS's work is it's really rooted in this idea that migration isn't a problem to be solved. It's really a source and a solution. If we think about the role that cities are playing around migration in being solutions-oriented, I think that there's real power in that, especially at a moment where we think of immigration as sort of this intractable issue. And yet, so many cities and towns in the US and around the world are showing that diversity is an asset, and that when we create a welcoming environment, we're all the better for our ability to capitalize on that. The team that Tomás was part of looked at people's perceptions of policies that made their communities more welcoming for immigrants, and found that the vast majority of people, when they saw that there were policies and practices in place to help immigrants belong, also felt their own sense of belonging reinforced. And I think that that is a really important finding, because we often hear the scarcity narrative that your belonging or your ability to access resources somehow takes away from mine. But I think most people reject that idea and recognize that a community that's being intentional about how everyone's able to participate has shared benefits for everyone. I think that the vision that we hold at Welcoming America is of a society where all of us can belong and thrive in the communities we call home, no matter where we've come from. So I often share the story of my grandparents who came with my mother to the US in the late 1940s as refugees. My grandparents were both Holocaust survivors who had lost just about everyone that they loved. And I grew up with those stories, and also, with the story of my grandmother, who, when she first laid eyes on the Statue of Liberty, that was a moment where she thought to herself, finally, I can be in a place where I'm free. At the same time, we also know, that there is such a huge gap between that aspiration and the lived reality for so many people, particularly people of color and particularly immigrants. I believe we are living through a time where more and more people are being stripped of their status in democracies, not only here in the United States, but around the world. And really what that's doing is entrenching the idea of second-class citizenship. There is the promise that democracy has offered of greater freedom for all of us. And I think, to grab hold of that vision of freedom and opportunity and human equality, we have to wrestle with these challenging questions of who belongs. Welcoming America uses something called the welcoming standard when we look at how to measure the welcomingness of a community. And what is encompassed in that welcoming standard are policies that make it easier for people to not only access services, but be able to participate in the decision-making around who has access to them. There are hundreds of communities in the United States, many more hundreds of communities around the world that are building this welcoming ethos. And here in the United States, we are on track to certify 50 places as welcoming, which means that they've met the welcoming standard and successfully completed an audit of their policies and practices. and are putting real action behind the values of being welcoming. And those places are not just big cities. They are rural places. They are really across the political spectrum. And those 50 certified welcoming places represent the best of American values. One of the stories I love to tell is about Dayton, Ohio. In 2011, when some of the most anti-immigrant laws were being passed in places like Arizona and Alabama, leaders in Dayton, Ohio got together and said, we want to go in the other direction. We believe that being a welcoming community is something that will help all of our residents thrive and also be able to help us attract more people to come to a community that had been losing population for about 50 years. They created a plan, and then they institutionalized that work within local government, within their schools, and really made it everybody's responsibility in the community to create a welcoming environment. Fast forward to today, Dayton has been able to turn around 50 years of population decline. They've seen new businesses open on Main Street. They've seen parents more involved in their kids' education. They've been able to resist a lot of the scapegoating narratives that we've seen in our national narrative around immigration. And I think most importantly for people who are living in Dayton, they feel that sense of belonging and know that there are leaders and neighbors who care about their well-being and want to see them thrive. One of the things that we see that people are most looking for right now is a narrative of possibility, the sense that there is something that I can do in my own backyard, and seeing that there are positive role models all around us in small communities, large communities, that are taking action and working to make their communities more welcoming, and that there are practical steps that I can take to do that work in my own community. And we think that one of the best places to start is to find other folks in your community who share your values and similarly want to see your community be more welcoming.